think I told you guys before, when I was in college, I signed up for biblical studies courses, and I thought that my class was going to be devotional, right? Some of you guys thought this class was going to be devotional, right? That's what I expected. I was extremely surprised that it was taking the historical critical method. I was also angry. I didn't like it. I got used to it eventually, and then I took another Bible class that was taught from a devotional perspective, and that made me mad. I wanted more of the historical critical method. Well, the devotional method maintains the authority of the Bible. If you take a class and it's taught devotionally in part, the professor is telling you this is meaningful to you in your life. Anthony, what does John mean to you? What does Paul's message in Galatians mean to you? That assumes that you care what Paul says. Maybe you don't care what Paul says, but me telling you that you should consider what he says to you sends the message that Paul is important and should be taken seriously by everyone. Now, that's not unusual, right? Lots of professors in biblical studies will teach it that way. Maybe they won't teach it that way all the time, but they might teach it that way some of the time. What can Paul mean to us today? You would not find that, right? How many of you guys are exposed to Nazism in high school or college? Right? Did anybody ask, well, how can we make Nazism relevant to us today? Avalos is like, why do we do that with the Bible if we don't do that with other stuff? To do so sends the message that it has a continuing authority. I'm adding to this over here. I'm just moving. This is the next one. He uses the word bibliolatry, which is a take on the word idolatry, where people idolize the Bible. And he defines this as the conviction that the Bible is valuable and should remain the subject of academic study. This is bibliolatry, it's idolatry of the Bible, worship of the Bible. We see it in the Biblical Studies Academy, the conviction that the Bible is valuable and should remain the object of academic study. It's hard today to study the Bible because it's a short book, especially the New Testament, right? It's really short. There's not too much more to be said about it because people have been writing about it for like 300 years now. The historical critical method only goes so far. If Anthony goes and you want to get a PhD in biblical studies, you got to write a dissertation that'll be like 200 or 300 pages long. You're going to have to be like, man, what can I say that's new? That hasn't been said already. Well, guess what? It's really hard to find something that hasn't been said already. Sure, that's fine. By the way, you don't want to get a PhD in biblical studies because it is hardcore. Where I went to grad school, the people who were getting a PhD in biblical studies, they had to know English, of course. They had to know Greek. They had to know Hebrew. They had to know French so they could read French scholarship on the Bible. They had to read German so they could know German scholarship on the Bible. And they had to choose 2 other ancient languages to learn, like Latin or Sanskrit wasn't the options. Wasn't one of the options, but like maybe ancient Aramaic or something like that. They had to learn 7 languages just to get their PhD. That's like super hardcore. You don't want to do that. Plus, it's tedious. One of the people I studied with wrote like a 300-page dissertation on 1 sentence, or probably 1 paragraph. That's intense. Yeah, which is why it's hard to find something new to say about these areas. Ehrman tries to offer evidence that the Bible is or should be irrelevant. And what he suggests, this is pretty straightforward, there's sexist stuff in the Bible. There's anti-Jewish stuff in the Bible. I wouldn't say that the Bible is anti-Semitic, but there are certain things in the New Testament that are anti-Jewish. Yeah, I won't go any more into that. He suggests it's anti-scientific, right? The Bible says the world was created in how many days? 6 days. Does any scientist believe that the Bible was actually made in 6 days? No. Right? There are certain passages in the Bible that support genocide. You remember some of those, Anthony, from last semester? Right? There are passages in the Bible that say anybody who is part of that other group, go out there and kill them. Kill them, kill their wives, kill their children, kill their livestock. Don't rest until there's nothing left breathing in that city. He suggests people already don't read it. How many of you guys have read any substantial portion of the New Testament before taking this class? 1? 1.5? Is that it? Yeah. Airman's like, or Avalos. Avalos is like, it's already irrelevant. Nobody reads it. We got 1.5 people who read it here. What's that?
Not for pleasure.
You had to read it? Yeah. In addition, he suggests people don't even follow it, right? Even the people who say they follow it don't follow it. So 1.5 of you have read it. Do any of you follow the laws in the Hebrew Scriptures that Jesus says you got to follow, like don't eat shellfish? Does anybody follow that? Yeah. Avalos is like nobody follows it either. His conclusion is that the Bible is or should be, no more relevant than any other ancient literature, right? We shouldn't be following the New Testament any more than we follow the Law Code of Hammurabi. And in fact, people don't really follow the New Testament any more than they follow the Law Code of Hammurabi. And when they do follow it, to follow up on what I said to Jenny earlier, right? Even when you do follow it, you're not really following it, you're following what you've projected onto it. Avalos doesn't say that, but I might add that to his argument if I was defending him. If you look, I'm not going to pull up my reading, but on page 342, he repeats basically what he says in the other reading. What I seek is liberation from the very idea that any sacred text should be an authority for modern human existence. Again, he rejects all sacred authority. If we shouldn't have slaves, it's because slavery is wrong, not because Moses or Jesus or anybody like that said anything on the matter.